Okay, good morning. We have two work sessions today. All counselors are present except for Glenn Young, who is excused this morning. Hopefully, he'll be with us this afternoon for council time. We do have two work sessions. One is just an update by Dr. Melnick, and he's already checked in. Dr. Melnick, are you ready to give us an update?
Yes, good morning, counselors. I am sure ready. I go ahead and get started.
Yes, please. We've started recording and we have a quorum. We're ready for you.
Great. So I just want to give an overview of what at the Board of Health meeting later this month, we'll be providing an in-depth presentation on the 2023 version of the Healthy Youth Survey. And in advance of that meeting, I just wanted to take a few minutes to give you some background on the survey itself. I'm not going to give you the data that we'll do later this month, but talk about the survey data we have available on our website. And the Healthy Youth Survey is a statewide survey of 6th, 8th, 10th, and 12th grade students that's conducted every 2 years. And it's administered during school, it's voluntary, and it's anonymous. All public schools in the state are invited to participate at no cost. And in 2023, statewide, over 15, well, actually in Southwest Washington, over 15,000 students from 17 school districts participated, 15,500 about. All of the Clark County school districts participated with the exception of Green Mountain. And the Healthy Youth Survey is the only place where we can get population level estimates for youth health and safety in our community. So the questions that are asked, the Healthy Youth Survey asks students about their thoughts and experiences in a variety of topics, including substance use, mental health and emotional health, school climate and safety, bullying, abuse and neglect, screen time, and sleep, nutrition, and physical activity. It also asks demographic questions, which provide us with a deeper understanding of disparities. For example, the data have shown us that female students experience higher rates of depression and anxiety than male students. We know that the data is both reliable and valid. So reliability means that the survey consistently produces the same results under the same circumstances. And validity means that the survey is accurately measuring what it's intended to measure. Essentially, can we trust the data and can we from what we're measuring? The survey basically maximizes validity and reliability by using questions from established surveys. Also by ensuring that standard administration procedures when the survey is administered to the students. And also, and I'm going to go into a little bit of this with you, but also conducting quality control processes to identify and remove unlikely or impossible results. And I'll talk about that more in a few minutes. Many of the questions in the Healthy Youth Survey originated from 4 established surveys that have been used throughout the United States, some for more than 25 years. They include the Monitoring the Future survey that's sponsored by the National Institute of Drug Abuse, the University of Washington Social Development Research Group's Risk and Protective Factor Assessment Instrument, the CDC's Youth Risk Behavior Survey, and the CDC's Youth Tobacco Survey. So it uses many of those questions from those established surveys. Each of those surveys I just mentioned have been subjected to scientific research regarding reliability and validity and been field tested. Most of the questions on this last survey, the 2023 survey, appeared on previous versions, although some were added or modified for the current survey administration. And any new surveys that were added were tested with youth focus groups. So just a little bit more information about the reliability and the validity. One is the survey is anonymous. Students don't put their name or any other identifying information on the survey, which helps them feel safe to answer questions honestly. And then in terms of, quality control on this, student surveys that are thought to be unreliable are removed from the data set. And I'll give you some examples. If there are too many missing responses in a survey, if a student answers illogically or inconsistently. So some of these questions overlap. So for example, if they answer that they've used marijuana in the past month and then answering another question that they've never used marijuana in their life, those results would be dropped. So the survey in that case would be taken out of the data set. Students are also asked about a drug that is a made-up drug. If they say they've used this fake drug, it indicates that they're not answering correctly or truthfully. If they're answering on their question showing evidence of faking a high level of substance use, for example, reporting the use of all substances every day, that's removed. Improbable response patterns, for example, selecting every single response option on multiple check all that apply questions. Dishonesty, if a student, there's an item about honesty, and if the student responds negatively to that item, that's removed. Submitting the survey outside of the school hours of the administration window, incomplete and duplicate responses. Those are things that those surveys are eliminated. So as a result, about 3% of the surveys are taken out of the database. The other thing about the survey is the question wording is clear, concise, and consistent to prevent misinterpretations. Also, questions are first pilot tested amongst groups of youth to ensure that that questions are being interpreted correctly. And question wording is kept as consistent as possible over time, over the years, to help accurately measure trends, because we do measure trends over years. The other thing is it's administered when schools administer this, they use standardized procedures and in a controlled test-like environment to help ensure anonymity and confidentiality. And the importance of the survey is explained to students. Bias is avoided by having the schools consider when they're going to be administering the test. So for example, if a football team is leaving early to attend a game, that you're not going to admit the survey, you don't want to administer the survey and leave that group of students out. So you want to have as good a sample in terms of covering all the students as possible. The survey methodology is also reviewed by the Washington State Institutional Review Board to ensure that it meets ethical standards. One caveat for this last survey is it's a new cohort. So over the past many years, the survey was administered in even years. So it's administered to 6th, 8th, 10th, and 12th graders. So a 6th grader taking the test in 1 year, 2 years later, it would be the same group of students, same cohort as 8th graders. And that provided some consistency over time because you could see the same cohort of kids moving along in the surveys. Due to the pandemic, the survey was not administered in 2022. So we've switched to odd years. So now we have a totally new, we have a new cohort of students that'll be moving through. So I wanted to give you that caveat as well. I'm almost done here. I just want to let you know where you can see the results. So all county ESD and state results are available online at www.askhys.net. That's ASK uppercase HYS.net. We also have a healthy youth survey data dashboard on our website. So you can, if you go to on clark.wa.gov, if you go to our county site and then go to our department site and go to assessments, data and report section on our website and click on the community data page, you will see that dashboard. And it currently has the 2021 results and will be updated. We'll be updating it with the 2023 results. At our next meeting, we're going to bring one of our epidemiologists, and they'll be presenting the 2023 survey results, survey, and also highlight trends in the data around substance use and mental health. We've been focusing on that for the last couple of months, and we want to highlight that in the HYS, in the Healthy Youth Survey. The other point I'd make is that we try to get at least 70% of students participating in the survey. It's most reliable then. It's probably representative. In 2021, we had 69% of Clark County students participating. I think it's a bit lower this year, and we'll explain a little bit more about that in terms of representation. So that's basically my, sorry for going on for so long, but that's my basic background on the Healthy Youth Survey that we want to present to you later this month. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Malik. Does council have any areas of comment, emphasis that they would like to see addressed in the future, or any questions about what Dr. Malik just said? Karen Bowerman, I think you were speaking up.
Yes, I do have a question, and maybe it's related to how I would like to see the data too. Do you have, because this is such an extensive, huge survey, what are the plans that have been in place in the past, and then for 2023, once the data are really tabulated and understood, for action plans? And I'm thinking particularly by region, by school within the county.
That's a really good question. Fortunately, I have, I believe David Hudson is on. He's our program manager who actually works with the epidemiologists on this. David, did you have any, can you respond to that? I think he's on.
So we're showing they are on.
Andrea, I don't know if you want to chime in.
Yes, it's an excellent question, and Joy Lyons from ESD 112 will also be joining for a presentation later this month, and she's going to talk about the Prevent Coalition's work in school districts relative to what the data trends show. And so school districts and ESD can share more about their programs, how they use the Healthy Youth Survey data, how they use some of their own data to inform where they allocate their resources and tailor their programs for youth across the prevention and intervention continuum. So they'll be one of our panelists.
Thanks, Andrea. I forgot that Joy would be joining us, so thank you on that.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself earlier. So I'll just add again, it's David Hudson. I'm the program manager for the Health Assessment and Evaluation Program. We work very closely with ESD 112, as Andrea mentioned, and all of the Prevent coalitions across the county. So this data is shared with them, and then throughout the year, we support them in what actions and programs that they want to take in individual schools and districts that are based on the data results from 2023. So thanks for that question. Does that help answer it?
Yes, and I look forward to seeing just how that plays out in terms of the plan that you will have in place.
Great.
A question?
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
When the survey is rolled out to the schools, are the parents notified about the survey, and do they have the opportunity to review the survey questions in the event that they want to opt out their children?
Yes, before they're notified about the survey, so they do have the option of opting out, and then they can, as Alan talked about, they can all go to askhys.net and see the actual survey questions that will be asked in the schools.
All right, thank you.
So I have more comments than questions, but at least one will become a question. You know, years ago when I first heard the results of these surveys, and the one issue stood out, especially in light of the fact that the council was dealing with whether to lift the moratorium on marijuana or not, and that was our school age use of marijuana was trending down. More use, younger age. And I disagreed with the council lifting that moratorium. Be that as it may, it's been lifted. Just recently, I was looking through opinion pages of the Wall Street Journal, and it was very interesting to see that the debates still continue. All authored by scientists, doctors, all authored with scientific protocols behind them, coming to opposite conclusions. Whether there's correlation between marijuana use and psychosis, especially with the younger age and more powerful THC content of marijuana. And then others disagreeing, saying, well, there's a correlation, but there's no causative factor. And that goes across the board. States that legalize marijuana generally see a correlation of more traffic accidents and deaths and polysubstance use. And almost universally, marijuana is one of those substances, among others. There's no cutoff that's universally agreed on by the legislature as to when someone's under the influence. You can measure metabolites, but that's about all. And we don't know when someone's under the influence. So law enforcement's hands are tied. This is a very complicated process, and surveys are of very limited value. And we all recognize that. So my question is, because I kind of heard you say some of these questions were dropped. I mean, all the surveys depend on those voluntarily participating and those somewhat trying to be honest in their answers and not game the survey. I mean, they're of limited utility, but what questions exactly have been dropped from these surveys regarding marijuana use?
What I was saying was that surveys themselves are dropped if it appears that they're being answered inappropriately and untruthfully. So Andrew and David, you may be able to talk about questions over time, but marijuana questions have been asked over time through the years in the survey. I don't know that any specific marijuana questions were dropped.
Yeah, that's correct. Or not. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to add that to the highlighted portions that I was concerned about. Obviously, the debate still continues whether marijuana is a gateway drug or not, leading to other addictions. That still hasn't been scientifically concluded either. So, I mean, all this information is most important for our schools and for the parents that are trying to lead their kids safely to adulthood. So, it's kind of to Michelle Belcott's question, but from a different vein, how do we get this information back, the best information we learn from the surveys, back to the parents so they have an idea of what's happening with their children? Most parents are pretty clueless to what their kids are actually doing. So I'm hoping that this information is widely distributed, not just made available on a webpage, but actively pushed back to the parents.
Yeah, I can talk about that question. So the role of the Prevent Coalition is to share these survey results with the entire school community, including students and parents. And then, as we talked about before, is really looking at action steps based on the data. And then I also would say that the Healthy Youth Survey is not only the only survey we have for health-related issues for youth, but it's the best survey that we have, and we're constantly promoting that. And again, what Dr. Melnick was talking about is that survey questions are not dropped, but if we see, or if not we, Department of Health sees in individual survey results of it that a student takes, If there is some discrepancy or we notice dishonesty, and Dr. Melnick reviewed all those points, those individual surveys are dropped, but not questions. Does that help answer your question?
I'm sure we all look forward to the survey results, and then the Board of Health can weigh in on policy decisions on how to react to it, as to Karen's question, I think. Other comments or questions before we move on to Lower Columbian Fish Recovery Board? Michelle, were you going to ask something else?
No,
Okay.
no, Chair.
Anything, Sue? Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Melnick and team. We look forward to what you have to present when you come up with the data for us. Thank you.
Thank you.